I unlocked my phone and saw a notification I didn't recognize, a voice message from a number I knew didn't exist anymore. Curiosity pulled me in, and as I pressed play, a familiar voice whispered my name, sending chills down my spine. It was someone I hadn't heard from in years, someone I thought I'd lost forever. It started like any other evening. I was home alone, the faint hum of the heater keeping the chill out. The soft glow of my phone lit up the darkened living room as I scrolled through notifications. Most were mundane, reminders, social media alerts, a couple of missed calls. Then I saw it. A notification that made my chest tighten. Voice message from unknown number. Except, this wasn't just an unknown number. The digits were familiar, yet wrong. Disconnected. Cancelled. A number I knew had been inactive for years. I hesitated. My thumb hovered over the screen. Why would anyone leave a voice message from a number that no longer existed? But before I could overthink, I pressed play. The first sound made my heart stop. A faint, trembling voice, soft, deliberate, and unmistakably familiar. "Hey, it's me. I know you're not expecting this, but I needed you to hear my voice. Listen closely, because I won't be able to say this again." The memory hit me like a wave. The voice belonged to Ella, my childhood friend, someone I hadn't spoken to in over a decade. The same Ella who had vanished from my life after one cold winter night, leaving only unanswered questions and a memory that had haunted me quietly. I sat down, gripping my phone like it was a lifeline. Each word she spoke seemed to cross the distance of years, threading past and present together in a way that was almost impossible. The message continued, slightly distorted, like it had traveled through time and space just to reach me. "If you're hearing this, it means I found a way to reach you. There are things I never told you, things I wish I could explain in person. But I can't. Not anymore. You need to know, the winter night, the choices I made, everything, it wasn't what you think." My fingers trembled. My mind raced. How could she leave a message from a number that didn't exist? And more importantly, what truth had she left hidden for me to uncover? I realized in that instant, this wasn't just a voice message. It was a call from the past. A whisper across years. A secret finally finding its way home. I stared at my phone long after the message ended, my mind spinning. How had she sent this? Her number didn't exist anymore. And yet, here it was, her voice, clear, urgent, intimate, cutting through the years like a fragile thread connecting the past to now. I pressed play again. "I know you'll have questions," Ella continued, "and I wish I could answer them all. But some things you have to hear in pieces, little by little. It's the only way you'll understand. The night I disappeared, it wasn't because I wanted to leave you. I had no choice. And now, you need to know why." The room around me felt smaller, the air heavier. Memories I had buried resurfaced, the cold December evening when she had left, the unanswered texts, the sudden silence. I remembered the ache of emptiness, the questions that had kept me awake for nights, and the desperate hope that maybe she was okay. But now, through this impossible message, I felt her presence again. It was surreal, her voice was here, bridging time, space, and unanswered grief. I grabbed a notebook and started writing down every word, every pause, every subtle tone in her voice. There were pieces of a story hidden in the hesitations, in the way she repeated certain phrases. "I had to protect you," she said softly. And the truth, it was never mine to tell back then. But now, it's yours to uncover. My heart pounded. Protect me? The phrase sent chills down my spine. What had I been shielded from all these years? What winter night had left us both stranded in silence, waiting for answers that never came? I realized I couldn't ignore this. I needed to follow her words, trace every hint, understand the story she had left behind. Somewhere, Ella's past and my present were colliding, and the message was the spark. The truth was waiting. And I had to listen. I couldn't sleep that night. Ella's voice kept echoing in my mind, each word carrying the weight of years lost. The fact that the message had come from a number that no longer existed made it feel almost like a ghost calling me, like the past itself had reached out. The next morning, I replayed the message again, analyzing every pause, every inflection. Something in the way she said "protect you" made me think it wasn't just a figure of speech. There was danger, or at least fear, involved. I decided to retrace the last time I had seen her, to follow the fragments of our shared past like breadcrumbs. Our old cafe, the park where we used to sit on winter afternoons, even the narrow streets near my apartment, places that had been ordinary then, but now felt charged with memory and mystery. At the cafe, I asked the barista if she remembered Ella. Her eyes lit up faintly. Ella? Oh yes, she came here often, always nervous, always in a hurry. She'd sit by the window, scribbling in notebooks or typing on her old laptop. I hesitated. Did she ever talk about leaving? Or about anyone she needed to avoid? The barista frowned. She never said much, but once she left a notebook behind. I returned it to her, but she seemed worried. Like she didn't want anyone to see something. A chill ran through me. A notebook? Could it still exist somewhere? Was it a clue in her message, the one from a number that no longer existed? I felt the weight of responsibility pressing down. I wasn't just listening anymore. I was part of this story. Every step I took now mattered. Every choice could bring me closer to understanding what had happened that winter, and why Ella had vanished without a word. Her voice in that message had pulled me back into a past I thought I had closed. But the path forward was unclear, and I knew I had to follow it carefully, step by step. The message wasn't over. And neither was the story. The next day, I decided to visit the park where Ella and I had spent so many winter afternoons. The air was crisp, the snow crunching under my boots. Every tree, every lamppost, every frozen puddle brought back memories. I felt like I was walking through a place frozen in time, where the past and present overlapped. I sat on our usual bench, notebook in hand, replaying her voice again and again. Each word felt deliberate, like she had left clues for me to piece together. Then I noticed a small envelope wedged between the wooden slats of the bench. My hands trembled as I picked it up. The handwriting was unmistakable, Ella's. My breath caught. If you're listening, then you found the first piece. Follow the streets we used to walk. The winter night holds the next part of the truth. Trust no one but your memory, and bring the notebook if you find it. Notebook? Was it the same one the barista had mentioned? I hadn't even known it still existed. I tucked the envelope carefully into my coat pocket and traced my fingers over the bench, imagining her there, all those years ago, leaving this message for me to find. The thought made my chest tighten. Her voice, the envelope, the vanished number, it was all connected. Every detail was intentional. And somehow, she had trusted me to carry this forward. I realized then that this wasn't just about uncovering a past mistake or a lost friendship. It was about uncovering something she had been trying to protect me from, something she had carried alone for years. The winter wind swept across the park, and I felt it like a warning and a call to action. I couldn't stop now. I had to follow her trail. Every street, every bench, every hidden message could be the next step toward the truth she had left behind. I couldn't stop thinking about the notebook. The barista's words replayed in my mind. She seemed worried. Like she didn't want anyone to see something. If Ella had left it behind, it might hold the answers, the why, the who, the winter night I had never understood. I went back to the cafe and asked if the notebook had ever resurfaced. The barista shook her head slowly. I returned it to her, but she never came back for weeks. I don't know where it went after that. Weeks. That meant it had vanished around the same time she disappeared from my life. My pulse quickened. I had to find it. I retraced my steps through the streets we used to walk together. The snow had mostly melted, but the memory of that winter, the cold, the quiet, the feeling of being left behind, was vivid. And then, in the small alley near the bookstore, I noticed a familiar corner table, half hidden under a faded awning. Something caught my eye, a corner of a notebook sticking out from under a chair. I froze. It was hers. Ella's notebook, exactly as I remembered. My hands shook as I picked it up, brushing off the dust. The leather cover was worn, but it felt alive in my hands, full of secrets and memories. I opened the first page and froze. Her handwriting was everywhere, notes, sketches, dates, and a single phrase repeated. Protect. Wait. Trust. Find. It was like she had left a breadcrumb trail, waiting for me to follow. I realized the message wasn't just about reconnecting with her. It was about uncovering the truth she had carried alone for so long. And now, the notebook and the mysterious voice message were guiding me toward it. Somewhere, hidden in her words and the winter streets we had walked, the answers awaited. Clutching the notebook, I walked through the streets that had once felt familiar but now seemed charged with memory. Every step felt like retracing Ella's footsteps, every turn a connection to a past I had never fully understood. I opened the notebook carefully. The pages were filled with her thoughts, fragments of days, sketches of places, and short notes that seemed almost like riddles. Bench by the lamp post. Snow falls. Leave it where only they will see. The park hides what words cannot. Only trust will guide you. I realized these weren't just memories, they were instructions, leading me to something important. I followed her trail to the old park, the same one where we had spent winters laughing, talking, and sharing secrets. My breath clouded in the cold air, and the silence felt heavy, as if the park itself remembered her presence. I approached the lamppost she had mentioned in the notebook. Beneath it, partially buried in leaves, I found a small envelope. My heart raced. This was clearly meant for me, another piece of the puzzle. I opened it carefully. Inside was a short note and a key. If you are here, you are on the right path. The key opens the place where everything started, the winter night you remember. Look carefully. Time is short. The reference to the winter night made my stomach twist. I remembered that cold evening, the last time I had seen Ella before she disappeared. The same night that had left so many questions unanswered. Her voice message, the notebook, and now this key, they were all part of a trail she had left for me to follow. I realized with a sinking feeling that I was being drawn directly into the heart of her secret, a secret she had carried for years, from a number that no longer existed. And I had to see it through. The key in my hand felt heavier than it looked. A simple piece of metal, yet somehow it carried the weight of years, secrets, and unspoken words. My fingers traced its edges as I thought about the winter night, Ella's voice, and the messages that had led me here. I returned to my apartment and studied the notebook again. There were hints I hadn't noticed before, drawings of doors, scribbled notes about the place where it all began, and references to a small storage unit near the riverside. It had to be that place. The key must belong to it. My heart raced as I made my way there, the city quiet in the early morning frost. Every step felt both terrifying and necessary, as if the past itself was guiding me. The storage unit was nondescript, tucked between two abandoned warehouses. I hesitated before sliding the key into the lock. It fit perfectly. With a soft click, the door swung open, revealing darkness inside. I flicked on my phone flashlight and stepped in. The air smelled faintly of dust and old paper. And then, in the corner, I saw it, a small box, neatly wrapped, labeled simply, "For Hannah." I froze. Her words from the message echoed in my mind, "You need to hear, the choices I made, everything. It wasn't what you think. The box contained letters, photographs, and recordings. Each item was a fragment of the truth she had never been able to speak aloud. I realized this was more than a memory box. It was her life condensed into carefully hidden pieces, waiting for someone to understand it. I held the first letter in my hands, trembling. The voice that had called to me from a number that no longer existed had led me here. And now, I had to uncover everything she had left behind. I carefully opened the first envelope from the box. The paper smelled faintly of lavender and old ink, a scent that immediately brought memories flooding back. The handwriting was unmistakably Ella's, looping and deliberate, each word filled with emotion. Hannah, if you are reading this, then you have found what I could not give you in person. The winter night changed everything. I made choices that hurt, and I had no way to explain them until now. Listen carefully, and know that every word is meant to protect you. I sank onto the floor of the storage unit, clutching the letter. Her words were heavy with regret, yet threaded with love and concern. She explained a series of events I had never known, the reasons she had left, the people involved, and the risks she had taken to keep me safe. Then I found a small recording tucked inside the envelope. Hesitant, I pressed play. Her voice, unmistakably hers, filled the tiny space. If you are hearing this, know that my silence was never a choice. I had to disappear to keep you safe, and now it's time for the truth to be heard. Please, follow the rest of the letters. They will lead you to closure, to understanding, to what you deserve. Her voice trembled slightly, and I felt a lump in my throat. The past I had carried, confusion, pain, unanswered questions, was beginning to make sense. She hadn't abandoned me. She had protected me. Tears blurred my vision as I realized that the chain of messages, the notebook, and the storage unit weren't just about her. They were about connection, trust, and a love that had been silent but never gone. The next envelope promised even more clarity. And I knew that following her trail would finally reveal the truth about that winter night, everything I had been waiting to understand for years. The second envelope was smaller, almost fragile. I opened it slowly, as if rushing could shatter the fragile bridge to Ella's past. Inside were more letters and a series of photographs. Each photo captured a fleeting moment from the winter she had disappeared, the snow falling on empty streets, footprints leading to a door, shadows of people I didn't recognize. The letters explained everything in painstaking detail. Ella had been caught in circumstances beyond her control. She had discovered information that could have put both of us in danger. She had left to protect me, to prevent anyone from causing harm. One paragraph made my heart stop. I know you may never forgive me fully, and I understand. But my absence was never a choice, it was a shield. You must see the full story to understand why I left the way I did. I listened to another recording. Her voice quivered with emotion as she spoke of fear, love, and unspoken promises. I could hear the winter wind in the background, the same one that had enveloped our last moments together years ago. Tears streamed down my face. I had carried anger and confusion for over a decade, believing she had abandoned me. Now I realized her silence had been an act of protection, a hidden kindness I had never anticipated. The box also contained a map of locations, each one tied to a piece of her story. I understood then that this was more than a collection of letters, it was a journey. A journey she had left for me to follow, to see the truth, to reconnect with her life in a way I never could have imagined. My hands shook as I traced the map. The next location awaited. The next step in uncovering the winter night she had protected me from. I had to keep going. The story wasn't over. Not yet. The map in the box was simple but precise. Each location marked was somewhere significant, places Ella had been during that winter, places that held fragments of her story, and pieces of the truth I had been waiting to hear. I followed the first marker to an old riverside warehouse. The streets were quiet, almost too quiet. Every step I took felt like I was walking inside her memories, retracing choices she had made in secret. Inside the warehouse, I found another envelope taped beneath a rafter. It contained letters and a small diary. The diary's pages revealed her thoughts in real time during those days I had been left in the dark. "I am terrified," one page read. "But I cannot let anyone see what I know. I have to disappear. For their safety, for ours." If only Hannah knew, maybe she would understand. I felt a lump in my throat. Every word confirmed what I had feared and hoped, that she had never stopped caring, even when she was forced to vanish. Her choices had been guided by love, by protection, and by a sense of responsibility I could barely comprehend. As I read, I realized that the journey she had left for me was more than uncovering facts. It was experiencing the emotions she had carried: fear, sorrow, and a desperate hope that someone would someday understand her. I tucked the diary and letters safely into my bag. The next marker on the map led to a familiar park, the same place where we had shared our last winter memories together. Each step I took now carried more than curiosity, it carried the weight of discovery, forgiveness, and the chance to finally piece together a past that had haunted me for years. I knew that at the next location, more truths would be revealed. And I wasn't sure if I was ready. I arrived at the park where Ella and I had spent our last winter afternoon together. Snow crunched under my boots, and the air smelled faintly of frost and pine. The map led me to a small, hidden alcove I had never noticed before, a place where shadows lingered even in daylight. Inside, I found a final envelope taped beneath a bench. My hands shook as I opened it. Her handwriting sprawled across the page, raw and urgent. "Hannah, the night I left, it wasn't your fault. I had to protect you from what I discovered. The people involved, they weren't safe to confront. I disappeared so you would be safe. I hope that in time, you can understand." A recording played alongside the letter. Ella's voice wavered, but every word was filled with care. "I never stopped thinking about you. I wanted to come back, but I couldn't. You have always been my light, my friend, my family. Now, the pieces are in your hands. Understand me, forgive me, and let this winter night finally rest." I sank onto the snow-dusted bench, feeling a flood of emotions. Anger, confusion, grief, and relief all collided. For years, I had blamed her absence on abandonment, but now I understood. Her disappearance had been a shield, a protective act born out of love. I realized that the voice message, the notebook, the box, the map, everything had been a journey to help me see the truth. To guide me through the winter she had endured, to reconnect us even across time and distance. I clutched the letter and listened to her voice one more time, letting it echo in the quiet park. The story of that winter night, the mystery of the lost number, and the years of silence were finally unraveling before me. And now, the final step awaited, the place where her story and mine would finally converge. The map's last marker led me to a small riverside cabin, hidden behind frost-covered trees. Every step felt heavy with anticipation, the winter wind sharp against my cheeks. The path was narrow, overgrown, and quiet, almost like the world itself was holding its breath. I reached the cabin and saw the door slightly ajar. Inside, a faint glow lit the room. On a chair by the fireplace sat a small box labeled "For Hannah." My heart pounded as I opened it. Inside were letters, photographs, and a recorder. Each piece revealed more of the winter night I had never understood, the choices Ella had made, the dangers she had hidden me from, and the love that had guided every step of her disappearance. Her voice played softly on the recorder. "If you are hearing this, Hannah, know I never wanted to leave. I had no choice, but I protected you in every way I could. The truth has waited for you, now it is yours to see, to understand, and to forgive." I clutched the letters, letting tears fall freely. The years of confusion, grief, and unanswered questions were finally coming together. The next step was clear: I had to see her. The riverside cabin was silent, except for the soft crackle of the fireplace. Snow had settled on the roof, and the world outside seemed to hold its breath as if it knew something monumental was happening inside. I stepped in cautiously, my heart hammering against my ribs. Every step toward her felt like closing the distance of a decade of unanswered questions, confusion, and quiet longing. There she was. Ella. Alive, older, yet unmistakably her. Her eyes widened as she recognized me. For a moment, the years melted away, and I saw the girl I had laughed with, shared secrets with, and mourned silently when she disappeared. I can't believe it's you, she whispered, voice trembling. You really found me. I held up the letters, the notebook, and the recordings. You left me a trail, I said softly. I followed it, and now I understand. Her lips trembled as she nodded. Tears formed in her eyes. I never wanted to leave you. That night, I had to make choices I couldn't explain. I thought silence was the only way to protect you. I stepped closer, feeling a surge of relief and sorrow all at once. The years of unanswered questions, the longing for closure, the heartbreak, all of it converged in this single, fragile moment. She had carried the weight of her own fear and responsibility, and I had carried the weight of her absence. We sat together, reading through the letters, listening to the recordings, and piecing together her story. Every word revealed the truth: the winter night that had changed everything, the dangers she had shielded me from, and the love that had never faded. Her voice on the recording repeated, almost like a mantra. I never stopped caring. I never stopped hoping you would understand. Now, the truth is yours. Finally, the tension of years melted away. I reached out, and she took my hand. No words were necessary. The silence spoke volumes, carrying years of regret, love, and the relief of finally being together again. The cabin was warm, but the real warmth came from the understanding between us. The lost voice message, the number that no longer existed, the letters, the notebook, all of it had led to this reunion. And now, the winter night's story, long shrouded in mystery and fear, was finally complete. We sat there for hours, sharing memories, forgiving the past, and quietly promising that whatever came next, we would face it together. Sometimes, messages arrive when we least expect them, from numbers that no longer exist, from people we think we've lost, carrying truths meant only for us. They remind us that love, understanding, and connection can survive even the longest silence. If this story of secrets, winter nights, and reunions moved you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share, because some stories are meant to find their way to the right person, no matter how long it takes.